Hello YouTube, 잘 지내요? I've got some wonderful information for you today. As always, let's talk about hiking in Korea. Now I know I've done a couple hiking videos and I've shown a couple of hikes, but I really wanted to go in depth about this, talking specifically about the Seoul hiking tourism. Because right now, there's a limited thing that you can do this month. Now, I know, it's kind of near the end of the month. I've been a little bit lazy in doing this myself, but you still got a little bit of time, and this is more specifically for those who are within Korea now, but if you are maybe coming to Korea pretty soon, you know, before the end of the month, this might be pertinent for you. Anyways, the Seoul Hiking Tourism and the Hyundai Seoul are collaborating for these very unique pins. I know, exciting pins. I'll get into the details, the nitty-gritty of what all that is about, but I want to explain what the Seoul Hiking Tourism Office really is. I think I've talked about them maybe briefly in a couple other videos, but what is the Seoul Hiking Tourism and what is it that they do? Well, the Seoul Hiking Tourism is, I think, the Seoul government's way of basically pushing people away from the main places such as Hongdae, Myeong-dong, and Seoul Tower, etc. They want to push people towards the real culture of Korea. Hiking. They want to put a bunch of people, a bunch of foreigners on the mountains, experience hiking, experience the mountains of Seoul and Korea in general. But I digress. I don't think that's really the main point. I think they just want people to experience different things in Korea. Now, this is what is most pertinent and most important for people coming to Korea. I, for one, love hiking. Always have, always will. You'll always catch me on a hike at some point. And coming to Korea has been a blast. I really like that aspect of hiking and the whole culture centered around hiking. I could go into another whole video about what hiking is like in Korea, but I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Hiking Tourism Office specifically and this unique pin. Anyways, the Seoul Hiking Tourism Office, or the Seoul government, has provided 3 offices at 3 different mountains where foreigners can not only rent gear, but get tour guides and do group activities going up these mountains, which is fantastic. Because hiking in Korea is pretty unique, even for the avid hiker who's grown up in hiking mountains in Europe and in America and all that. Hikes in Korea really, truly are different. As someone who's done a lot of hikes in France, you'll understand that hiking in Korea really is on a very simple level. And I say that because most of the hikes are well pathed, like super well pathed. You've seen my videos, or I hope you have, with all the little like kind of carpets that they lay down and the paths that are neat and orderly and very clearly defined, clearly telling you where to go. And most, the heights aren't really that tall. They're maybe 500 meters, 600 meters, etc. You get the point. Some mountains being pretty tall, like Harasan and Jirisan, for example. But that's what makes hiking in Korea really great. It's such a cool experience. It's available for anyone to do. And even without much experience in hiking, anyone can do it because the hikes are not that difficult. Even for someone who's not adept at hiking, it's truly a wonderful, cool experience. And I think what's really, truly unique about hikes in Korea is how seamlessly they blend from city to mountain. At one point, you're hiking or walking through the city streets, and then bam, you're in the mountain. you're just going up this dirt hill, and I love that. I love how the transition goes from city to mountain, like almost perfectly seamlessly. It's really cool. Whereas in other countries, you gotta drive like 2 or 3 hours, then finally get to a parking lot or nearby the hike, and then you start the hike. You are in a different, separate location. Now, I know this is case by case, but most of the time, that's what usually happens. You have to go out of your way to get to this hike. And depending where you live in Seoul, yes, you might be going out of your way, but going out of your way means leaving one area of your city to the other area of the city and then seamlessly going into the hike. And that's what's really unique. Aside from the views and the culture and all that, it's really cool. Now, for most foreigners coming here simply as travelers, they might not think about hiking because they might not have the gear. Again, going back to what the Seoul Hiking Tourism Office is doing, they are allowing gear rental. You can rent all the gear you need: backpacks, shoes, hiking sticks. Now, the prices I think are around 5,000 to 8,000 won. I haven't personally rented the gear myself, but I think they are fair prices. And I believe One of the centers actually has a shower system, so you can pay to use the shower after you're done with the hike. Now, I think that is, again, only for one of the centers, maybe Bukhansan or Bukaksan. These do require a booking ahead of time, but don't worry, I got you. You just need to go to their official website, seoulhiking.or.kr. I'll put that link down below in the description so you can go ahead and check the website. It's all in English. Now, I haven't called directly, but I have visited one of the hiking tourism centers, again, to get this pin. Don't expect the English to be that good. I was a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't really understand me that well and they couldn't explain things very well. And again, before you go saying, oh, Kevin, well, it's Korea. Of course they might not know English. It's a different country. Yes, I also agree. Knowing more Korean does benefit you. But again, this is a tourism center. It is a center designed for foreigners to come in. Koreans cannot use these services. It is only for foreigners. So you would expect a little bit level of more English knowledge. But that's besides the point. That is between the Seoul government and the people working there. So hopefully they get that sorted out. But anyways, don't expect the best English, but they'll understand you enough if you're going through the booking system. Anyways, you go through this booking system on the website, and then when you get there, you can visit the center. They'll give you a map. You can do tour guides, etc. They also do lots of hiking programs, which is what this pin is related to. Now, throughout the year, they've been slowly increasing the amount of programs and all that. Now, these centers are only at 3 mountains currently. They are at Bukaksan, Gwanaksan, and Bukhansan. Now, I know Bukhansan, Bukaksan, it sounds the same, but they are different mountains. Also, keep in mind is that all of these mountains have ak in the name, ak, like akma or pudak. What is ak? Well, ak, it takes the Hanja character for like hell or fire or intense. It basically means hellish. So all of the mountain names that have ak in the name, Bukhansan, Gwanaksan, Soraksan, Bukhansan, all of these mountains, aksan, basically mean hell mountain. Very tough, very difficult mountain. So it's actually kind of interesting that they chose some of the toughest hikes to make foreigner friendly. This will relate to my story that I have to give later from my experience. But yeah, interesting choice. Achasan is a very nice hike. I love Achasan. It's very easy, and I think that would be a really good place to invite foreigners to come in hiking. But no, they chose the hardest mountains for some reason. But again, this is Korea, so their ak mountains really aren't as bad as people portray it. I feel like every time I talk about Gwanaksan or Bukhansan, Koreans are like, oh my god, that's a crazy mountain. It's tough. Relax, chill, guys. It's not that bad. It's difficult, yes, and for someone who's not good at hiking or someone who does enjoy hiking, it will be tough. But for the more experienced hikers, it won't be that much more difficult than any mountains back home or tough mountains that they've been on. It'll just be a slightly different hike, more difficult hike compared to other mountains like Achasan, for example. Now, the thing that makes Gwanaksan for me was not the height, but finding the path. That's what the hell part was for me. So before I get into that, let me show you the lovely pin that you get. So this is my pin of Gwanaksan. I love the design for this. I think the design is super neat. You can see the meters, how tall the mountain is. You can see down here the collab with the Hyundai. But I am a little disappointed in the actual method of the pin. I thought this would be like a metallic badge, because a lot of companies, when they're doing promotions, I showed the Pokemon pin. Now I know Pokemon's a big company, that's a separate matter, but I thought this would be a more metallic badge. That's kind of what I expected, especially considering the Hyundai is, a very Ritz, very nice mall catering for richness in all honesty. That they're selling for that clientele. So this plastic pin seems a bit kind of a disappointment in all honesty. I do like the design. I think the design is spot on, but yeah, I don't quite like the plastic part of this, but that's just me. Anyways, in order to get this pin, well, you can only do it this month. They are running this promotion till the end of June, but that's not all you get. You also get this lovely letter, and in this letter contains a bunch of coupons for various stores at the Hyundai, of course. Where else would you go? But only Hyundai locations. So most of these, I would say a good 6 or 7 of these coupons are for the Hyundai Seoul. Others I have to go to the other locations of the other malls that they have. So it's a little inconvenient in that case, but most of these coupons are actually pretty good. They're actually pretty decent. Now, I didn't do this for the coupons. I did this for the exclusivity of the pin because I have a severe case of FOMO and I have to get anything that is limited. That's just me, and they sucker me into it every time. Now, if you are like me and you feel the pressure of FOMO and want to get the pin, this is your month to get it. You can only do this at, you guessed it, Bukhansan, Bugaksan, and Gwanaksan. So yes, they do have different pins for the different mountains. I personally like the design of the Bukhansan one, and I thought I would be able to choose the pin before I did the hike, but I guess it makes more sense that if I did this mountain, they give me this pin. So yeah, that's kind of on me. But maybe I'll do another one in the future, like Bukhansan, and get the other pin. Who knows? I don't know. But either way, let me get into the story of Gwanaksan. So for any of you going to Gwanaksan doing this, you won't have the same mistake that I did. Now, Gwanaksan is a pretty good hike. It's decent. It's nice. I like the way it starts off. There are 2 entrances, I believe, to get to the top of the mountain. One is a bit more straightforward, but a little more difficult. And the other one is less straightforward, but I think less difficult. I started at the Gwanaksan station, which is on the Shilim line. It's the last stop on the Shilim line, depending which direction you go. And it starts off with this big entrance and what goes into a kind of street road. Now, I was not recording at the time. You'll maybe see some pictures in the video later that I've had, but there is no clear path indicating to the top of Gwanaksan. In fact, the peak is not even called Gwanaksan. Now, I didn't really make that connection before I got that. The whole mountain range is Gwanaksan, and that's what you have to keep in mind for this story. Is the whole mountain range is Gwanaksan. What I didn't realize was that the peak was not actually also called Gwanaksan, because you know, if we're going to the top of a mountain that's called something like Bukhansan, Achasan, Gwanaksan, Harasan, whatever mountain, I expect the peak, the name of the trail, to be called the name of the mountain. Isn't that how things usually go? Isn't that how hikes usually are? You look for that. But that's not the case with Gwanaksan. No, it has a completely different name. No, the peak is called, checks notes, Yeonjudae. Not at all Gwanaksan Peak, Yeonjudae. Not at all. It is completely different. So I didn't realize that. That was my mistake. And I probably should have checked with the tourism office. I did visit before I went, started hiking. But I don't know, that was on me. I guess I just assumed wrongly. But the second thing is, I'm gonna give you another tip for anyone going on hikes. Rely on the Seoul Tourism hiking office, that's okay, but do not rely on Koreans on the mountain. Don't do it. I'm telling you, I have 2 counts of 2 Korean men who legitimately try to kill me on the mountain, and it's my fault for believing them. It really is my fault for following these guys. Case number 1, the first guy. Again, normally I don't get lost on these mountains, but for whatever reason, again, this one was particularly confusing on where to start the hike, because again, you're starting on what is like a car road in the mountain, and then paths diverge on the left and right. And I'm looking for signs for, again, Gwanaksan Peak, but I didn't find anything. So eventually I do ask somebody, hey, where's Gwanaksan Peak? Which way should I go? And he tells me to go straight. So I do. I just keep going straight. Eventually I see a map. It's got a bunch of routes, but no names or anything on it. I'm trying to decipher this map. That same guy comes up from behind me. He's like, yeah, just keep going straight. Just keep going up. You'll be up there. Great. Thanks again, buddy. I get to what I think or remember was Jubong Peak. And again, this is not really a peak. It's just kind of a top area. So eventually I bust out Naver, look at Naver, and lo and behold, I am very, very far away from Gwanaksan Peak. very far right. In fact, I'm like over here and Gwanaksan Peak is like over here. So crap, I am in the wrong direction. Now, hindsight, I should have just went back down. It wasn't that far of a walk and then eventually gone on the right path. But when I was looking at the map, I was like, oh, well, you know, if I just go left, I'll get there. Easy peasy. I go left, I go left, I go left. I pass a temple. I end up, and again, checks notes, Samsung Peak, a different peak. Still not even close to Gwanaksan Peak. Still another mountain range away. And then I go through down a gorge. I don't remember the name of the gorge. And this is where all hell breaks loose because I'm kind of going down the mountain at this point, but there is no trail. There is what seems like no trail. There's the well-paven path that I was talking about, that doesn't exist at this part. There is only real hiking. So if you want to be a real hiker and do what I did, then yes, you could go on this path and feel like you're doing a real hike. But it was very scary, very lonely, and I was legitimately terrified I was going to fall. It was not great. It sucked. That whole section was awful. And eventually I go down, 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 and down, and reach a point where the point like kind of connects to where the Gwanaksan Peak path is. And finally I am on the right path. And this is where man number 2 enters. Now I am almost near the top, maybe a good couple 400 meters away, and the path kind of diverges. Now this path is a little bit more easy to understand. Right path, clearly to the top. Left path, less clear that it's to the top, so I was gonna go right. But I feel a grasp on my shoulder as this young Korean man speaks to me English and says, "You going to the peak?" And I say, "Yes, I would love to go to the peak." He's like, "Well, both go to the peak." I was like, "Great." Before I could say anything, he says, but the left path is faster. A little bit harder, but faster. Now, I made the mistake of asking him how much or how faster, and he said about 200 meters maybe faster. And I tried explaining to this dude that I had been hiking for about 3 hours now. I went to Samsung Peak. I went the complete different wrong direction. And I tried explaining to him, it's like, look, I'm a little tired. I just want to get to the top. So, you know, easy is fine by me. He's like, no, this path's better. This path is better. It's great. I had no choice. The guy was watching me to choose the left path. He would not leave until I went on that left path. And the left path I went, and God help me if I was any less experienced and you know, just less faith in myself, that path was super dangerous. It was not great. This again was a path that was not clearly laden. It was not an actual path. At one point I had to jump from rock to rock, and I'm above the tree line. Okay, this is basically the peak that's not the peak. It's just these big giant rocks that you're kind of mantling over in an almost freestyle rock climbing. And then again, no barriers, nothing. In a regular hike, most people who go hiking might understand what I'm talking about. When you're starting at the bottom, and even if you're going up, you're on a trail and what seems like a barrier around you, right? You got trees. Even though there's no actual physical barrier, there's kind of a barrier, right? You have the path you're on and then like the trees and the forest around you. Even if you're at high altitudes, it's mostly the same. But this was not, there's nothing. You are in the open air and the sun blazing on you. It's terrifying. It was legitimately terrifying. Now, again, I'm kind of used to those hikes because we got a couple mountains in France that are like that, but that's not what I wanted to do after 3 hours of hiking. I was dead tired. Resources were low. All I wanted to do was get to the peak, and that's it. That's all I wanted to do. But this guy, this green guy, again, he didn't make me do it, but which is one of those things that I don't think I could have gone the right path. And yeah, safe to say, I mean, I'm still alive, so obviously I made it. I got to the peak. On any other day, I think this would have been a cool path. Still terrifying, but it would have been a cool path if I just wasn't already really dead tired from going on my extended detour. And yeah, I take my picture. You can see me at the top, and you know, great. I got my picture, and I eventually went back down. Now this, mind you, is normally a 2-hour hike. 2 hours up, 2 hours down. For me, maybe I could get it up to an hour and a half. It's really not that long. That's why I think Gwanaksan, Bugaksan, all those mountains, they're not actually that tough. And I hike pretty fast. My total time was 5.5 hours on a normal 4-hour hike with that extended detour. That's how fast I was kind of pushing myself just to get to the peak and then get back down and get home. I was beat. So even with my detour, I still managed to get a good time, but it was not a good experience. So I'm gonna let you guys know Gwanaksan can be tough because you really got to know where the path is. And again, if you're smarter than me and you go with the tourism office and you get details, you get a map, all that, you'll be fine. You will legitimately be fine. But the only thing keeping me going was this stupid pin. That's all. That is the raw determination through leg cramps, through all my resources being burned, food, water, everything, like sun, well, not really sunburn, but you know what I mean, just tiredness from the sun. This pin was what was keeping me going. And yeah, that's everything I got for Gwanaksan. But I wanted to extend this to all of you because this is not the only thing that they do. Seoul Hiking Tourism Office does all kinds of promotions throughout the year to get people to hike their mountains. So if anyone's looking for something unique and special and kind of free to do in Korea, I highly recommend visiting these offices, going on hikes in Korea. They are so much fun. Even if you don't go through the tourism office, grab a buddy and do any of these mountains. Normally you will not have the experience I had. You will be fine. You'll be able to do any mountain and hike it and go down and not have an issue. So again, visit if you want to visit tourism office. You can book ahead of time to get the gear. Otherwise, you can just go to these hikes or mountains freely, or even just simpler ones like Achasan. Like I said, Achasan is great. Not difficult, many paths up, 1 or 2 paths down, but it is one of the most hiked mountains and it's very easy. You'll get to the top within an hour or so. So I highly recommend that one as a first hike. Otherwise, pick and choose your hikes. They're all great. Korea has wonderful things to do outside of the big tourism stuff. Hiking is one of them. So YouTube, if you like hiking or are just a little inclined to do something a little different, then take some time to go visit the beautiful nature of Korea. My personal favorite, as always, still will be Namansansong. I did a video about it. That is legitimately one of my favorite hikes. It's just slightly inside of Seoul, a little outside of Seoul, border area, but it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's a wonderful hike that isn't really a hike, kind of. It depends where you start and where you end with it. So YouTube, that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed today's video explaining the Seoul Hiking Tourism Office and my nightmare of the hike. But like I said, I hope all of you enjoy hiking in Korea whenever you come visit, and hopefully all of you can get this beautiful pin or one of the other pins from the outer mountains yourselves. As always, I'll see you next time for another awesome video, YouTube. Peace out.